Welcome to the Blue Streak, where we break down who we are, what we do, and why we're your best choice. I'm Executive Officer Suarez, your host, and today we are focusing on the South region, and the leadership behind the South region. Today we have our guest, Captain Wilfredo Mora. I'm very excited to be doing this interview because Officer Mora, well, Captain Mora was actually my FTO for a brief moment over at the Cutler Bay Senior High School where he gave me a little bit of insight. And today I get to interview him. So without further ado, let's start by learning a little more about Captain Mora. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm 35 years old. I came from Cuba in 1997. Did my whole life in Miami-Dade public schools. Growing up, I was always into sports. I did that growing up. I went to school. I went to Coral Terrace Elementary, West Miami, also Sunset Senior, and Coral Park. After that,
All Miami-Dade County public schools, right?
Yes,
So you're a
sir.
product and now you work for our department?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
amazing. That's amazing.
it really is. After that, I went to college, decided to join the police academy, and got hired here in 2014.
And what sports did you play over in high school? What was your
Mainly,
sports?
what I always played was basketball. Big basketball fan, but also like football, volleyball. Getting into hockey a little bit now.
I know we're for our listeners, we're sitting down, but Captain Mora is like 6'2".
well, thank you for the extra inches, but 6 feet.
He is pretty tall, so I could definitely see you as a basketball player. So tell us what drove you into, what was their motivation becoming a police officer? I think we were talking off camera. You said your father or your grandfather?
My grandfather, yeah, my main motivation was my grandfather. I got to see him every day in his military uniform, and through that, I was able to admire what it was like to put on a uniform professionally and personally.
Nice. That's very, very, very good. So the South region, I think, is our largest district. It goes. What are the boundaries? I believe Kendall to.
All the way to Florida City.
So that's like 120 something schools.
Over 100 schools easily.
Oh, okay. And what are some of the key schools? What are some of the schools in the area?
Some of the
Stand out.
schools that you can stand out is the Coral Reefs, the Palmettos, the Homestead Seniors, the Cutler Bay Seniors. Those are
All excellent schools. I know Coral Reef is a magnet school. South Ridge are very good at football.
absolutely
Yeah, that's
great programs. They'll have great programs, whether it's academic or sports wise.
perfect. And I'm sure covering over 100 schools in the South District, you have long, stressful days. How does Captain Moore unwind? How does he decompress after such a long day? There's days that could be hectic. So what are your hobbies?
Relaxation to me comes the easiest way when it's either I'm sitting down, looking at some sports, or just spending quality time with family or those who I love.
And like you were mentioning that you're a big sports guy. Someone told me that you play in a league, a basketball league, baseball, softball league. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we try to join leagues as either personally or through with the department with some of the players. We got great players there. We do basketball, we do softball mainly. So shout out to the guys always playing with us over there. Appreciate it. My strong sport is not so much softball, but I do a little better in basketball. So yeah,
Yeah, I actually played against Captain Mora. He's got a mean crossover and a good layout. So
I appreciate it.
but playing sports is, yes, it's fun, but it creates that community with your officers and that rapport. So I can see why working with the team and having these leads is important.
Yes, sir. I work with them, and not only sports, we also bounce ideas off each other there. We get the pulse of what's going on the road with different districts are doing.
Mhm.
It's a great way not only to build camaraderie, but to talk with one another, to catch up, and just do what officers do.
Yeah, it's a more relaxed environment, and that's important to build that rapport with your officers. Um, so switching gears, let's get into a little nitty gritty. The district, the South District. How long have you been there in the South District, and were you placed there? Did they pick you? How did that work?
Yeah, so I've been there for a couple of months now. I was there covering because the last captain got promoted to major, so then I was filling the spot.
Okay, and you said, I think we are talking off camera. You know the South. You went to those schools. You lived in that area, so you're like a perfect fit for that area.
Yes, absolutely. I grew up in the South by the Eureka area, so I know it very well. So
Perfect.
when they sent me there, it was perfect fit because I know how to get around very well. I know the schools as well.
Perfect. Perfect. And now the community. What are some of the concerns the community has that you've been hearing? You know, from I know every school is different. Every school has a different environment, but the community itself. What are some of the concerns that you've been hearing, and what are we doing to address them?
So I've been fortunate enough to work in different operational areas, and the main concern I always have is how are we keeping our students safe? And my answer to them is always we have officers there with their patrol cars as well, very visible, who also receive training, and they walk the hallways, build rapport with the students, with administration, and the community while doing this. And that fluid communication and lead returns to a safer school and safer communities.
So one officer at every school from bell to bell.
Correct. Minimum one officer at every school, but there's instances where we have a enough fleet in where we could have at least two officers.
Yeah, for a school maybe like a Homestead or Coral Reef that's larger in attendance, right? You would need sometimes two officers.
Absolutely, in early dismissals and stuff like that, we send elementary or middle school officers. We send them over to high school
Interesting.
officers to help out.
Awesome, awesome. And I know we also have our canine unit. We have our motors unit where they come and assist as well. Do you rely on them as well?
Absolutely. So we have different units like the K9, our GIU unit, our ICT unit. These are all key factor units.
Sorry to interrupt you. ICT, what can you tell me a little about what is ICT?
So this is our tactical unit. This unit is trained
Can you tell us what ICT means?
incident containment team.
Okay.
So this unit is trained to stop active shooters, and but as well they can actually do that and as well do our regular SRO job.
Kind of like a SWAT team where
Kind
they're
of
trained.
is a tactical aspect of it. Yes,
Okay.
they're trained a little more on weapon manipulation, shooting, conditioning, and all that. But they could also double down. They could also do a SRO job, just like the K9 team could do it, and our GIU guys can do it as well.
And that's important. The reason I wanted you to elaborate on that is for our listeners. We want the listeners to know that, yes, we're there building rapports with students, giving high fives, shaking hands, and just walking the hallways. But we also want to let the listeners and the community know that we also have a tactical team, that we're ready, we're equipped, we're trained, and we're ready to be deployed. God forbid if an active shooter ever comes to our hallways, we want to be ready. So thank you for sharing that as well. My next question here is, how do you measure success? The stats, the community, the feedback, officer morale. What's the most important thing to you?
How I would measure success is community feedback and officer morale, as both go hand in hand. Without good officer morale, our community won't receive the best services our officers could put out, which is what we seek to do every day, day in and day out.
And for those officers that you're working with, right? Because I'm sure you got to manage different personalities sometimes. How do you visit every school? How does it work? Do you rely on your sergeants? You have a team under you, correct? How does the structure work? You have lieutenants. How does that work?
Correct. So you have your
Walk me through that.
You have your lieutenants that report to me, and then the sergeants that report to the lieutenants, and the officers that report to the sergeants.
You have two lieutenants that
have-
report to you.
I have two lieutenants. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the sergeants. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah. So if you got officers, they're having trouble with officer or anything like that, of course the officer would speak to their sergeant first, and then the sergeant can figure it out. They'll go to the lieutenant level, and if the sergeant and lieutenant can figure it out, it'll come to my level where we all come up with ideas and see how we can help the officer out the best that we can.
Perfect. For the listeners out there, Captain Mora, is there any message you want to give to the parents, especially now going into the summer? Any safety tips or any concerns, anything that you wished for our listeners, the parents, to know about Miami-Dade Schools Police or anything in general?
Yeah, just know we're out here working very hard for you guys to keep your children safe, but everything starts at home. So make sure when you are home with your kids, you're speaking to them, you're acknowledging what they have to say, you're going through their devices, the social media. It's been a huge thing now of how messages get relayed and all that. But just know we're here for you, for your kids, for the schools, for the staff, and it's a pleasure to serve you guys every day.
I'm happy you touched that on parent engagement because it's important. I remember growing up, my mom was always walking me to class, or I'm like, Mom, don't drop me off here because I was shy, I was embarrassed. But we need that parent involvement. We need the parents to monitor the social media because now kids are going to be out of school. They're going to be, I guess, bored and have time, like my mom says, a inventar. We could talk a little Spanish here for our audience, where you start going on social media and our detectives will knock on your door and follow those IP addresses. So that's a very good piece of advice there. Captain Mora, thank you so much for your leadership, your insight, your vision for the South District. It was a pleasure chatting with you. For our listeners, the Miami Community Newspaper, thank you to the Miami Community Newspaper. And that's a wrap for our episode. I want to remind you guys to visit our website, mdspolice.com, our social media, Miami Schools PD. And remember, we're here to protect, serve, and inspire.